What's up, guys? We're live. Well, we are live, but this episode is pre-recorded since I'm traveling and we don't know what the audio is going to be in the location. But if it's good, we'll use it another time. Anyways, um, we were at a tournament, and I want to kind of go over some of the lessons from the tournament that we went over. But before we do, I wanted to talk about a topic of can opener. Okay, so the can opener is, to me, it's, yeah, it works. I don't teach it because it's like one of those things that it's like a hand grenade that could explode in your face. The way I look at can openers, first of all, it's illegal in most tournaments because spinal manipulation, and you can hurt a person quite badly. And again, it depends on context. If 150-pound guy tries to can open 230-pound guy, he could still hurt his spine, but it's less likely just because of the difference in strength and size. But I take it very seriously if somebody tries to, like a 230-pound, let's call him musclehead. I don't know if that's offensive or not, but it doesn't matter. Is trying to use it on a 130-pound female or a male for that matter. I have a major problem with it because you literally can majorly screw somebody up, and people tend to panic in situations where they cannot move. They tend to panic. So I don't like the move. I can use it. I know the counter to it, and the biggest thing biggest takeaway I tell sort of the big guys that might want to use it against somebody small, I basically say flatly, just don't, because you don't know your own strength. And that point, the person is prone. But the other thing is, the counter to a can opener is actually fairly simple. The bottom person needs to act quickly. Okay, so let's go over that. So Nikki, who's going to pretend to be a goon, and she tries to can open. Do it good. Throw your legs over the shoulders. As soon as you throw the legs over the shoulders, you're going to have your ankles crossed and you bring your knees in. They lose all their power, and then you can double arm lock them real hard because they tried to can open. Okay? Now, if Nikki actually stands up, when that happens, I'm going to pivot immediately into an armbar. And again, you can double armbar them hard, guys. But again, if I feel somebody's both arms on my head, I immediately, if they're standing, I'm going under the leg, hard pivot. It takes away the can opener, okay? And most importantly, you can punish them for sort of I would consider that a bad technique. Again, it's viable. I don't teach it, and for somehow, the people that kind of gravitate toward it is the big guys, the 230 plus, super strong, probably can lift 500 pounds, and that's not a good sort of way to look at it. But anyways, again, if you go against an experienced person, they will punish you for that technique. And again, you should not use that against an experienced person. Guys, let's look at some of the lessons from the tournament. So, and I think that's one of the questions actually on the app, like what would you use against a bigger person? So one of the women that trains with me, she did really well in the tournament. I think it's her only second tournament ever. She performed like a champ. And the question on the app is like, how do you, we're actually going to go over that as well. How do you take a bigger person down? You got to be really careful. Okay, so what happened is, so a lot of times they clinched up and they were kind of hanging on each other's head. Go ahead, Nikki, you can hold on my head. Yeah, so hanging on each other's head. And sometimes the bigger girl on Nikki's side, she basically just tries to posture up. Anytime that happens, you lower your level and you go in. Anytime you're pulling or you're snapping somebody's head down and they posture up, that's your time to take a clean shot, because you're not going to get them to sprawl on you, which you don't want somebody that outweighs you by 30, 40, sometimes it's even more pounds to sprawl on you, okay? So, again, let's look at it. So we're hanging on each other's heads, Again, guys, especially with the bigger person, I try to have both hands in because that alleviates the pressure. I pull down the posture up, I'm dropping in and go. Now, you got to be really careful to pull guard. Because if somebody outweighs you that much and you pull guard poorly, say that fast 3 times. Pull guard poorly. What happens is you screwed, especially in absolute divisions, or you're going against somebody that outweighs you by that much. Almost for sure they're going to pass your guard, and now you're going to be bottom side control. So a lot of times people just kind of start to, and then just try to pull guard, and kind of like this happens. And you got somebody, yeah, you don't want that. You don't want that. So if you ever, and I've done it, going to pull guard against somebody bigger. What I look for is an underhook. Use your head, and first thing, anytime I got somebody that much bigger, I push. What do you think? If I'm pushing a 250-pound guy, what is he going to do?
Push right back.
Yeah, they don't like to be pushed by lightweight. In my head, I'm a super weight, though. So anytime I'm here, I push. Of course, they're going to push back. My foot goes on the hip. So regardless, I'm going to attack the Urigatame immediately. That is very, from here, guys, usually it's a quick finish. Sometimes they sweep themselves. But either way, even if they retract this, that foot on the hip is what buys you the opportunity to either do something with it, or worst case scenario, as they're posturing up, you get nervous, you pop back up, no harm done, okay? So if you're gonna pull guard, make sure you control the shoulder, push, and now, usually from here, guys, this is a quick submission, okay? So, how are we doing on time, Aaliyah?
We are running out of time.
Huh?
We're running out of time.
All right, guys, so let's take some of the other lessons that we learned from the tournament. Well, I kind of knew them, but some of the people learned them, guys. That's the benefit of competing. Again, I don't encourage people to compete. Probably less than 10% of my students compete. And I know I'm burning more time, but let me finish my thought. People say, like if you don't compete, you're not really, training for self-defense. Quite contrary. A lot of people lose in tournaments because they psych themselves out. Because the other person has a lot more experience competing than they do. They may be technically better or worse, but a lot of times the winner is not determined by who's technically best. Guess what? In self-defense scenario, it's more similar to a new person, sort of pretty aggressive, comes into your academy and goes with you for the very first time. That's probably, and it goes hard. That's probably more similar to self-defense than a tournament. Because in a tournament, so much of who does well and how things go is in here. All right? So if you want to compete, guys, do so. If you don't worry about it. You don't need to.